Hello, everyone. Welcome to the chat. Hello. I see you guys are already commenting and kind of saying hello. So let me go through and just kind of pay attention to some of you. Hi, Cherry Jubilee. Welcome to the chat. So glad to see you here. Hello, at Fairy Girl with the Dab. So glad to see you as well. Hello, Caitlin. Glad to have you. Deborah Pina. Hello. Hopefully I said it right. Pina or Pina. Welcome to the chat. I don't remember you being on the live chat, so glad to see you. Welcome. Mariah Love. Hello. Welcome to the chat. You're also a newbie on the live. Hello, Caitlin. I think I already said you. Sane. Hello. Back to you. And I thought there was one more person. Blessed in every area of my life. Welcome to the chat. One Love, hello, welcome, and Vanessa, welcome to the chat. So glad to have you all. So I'm going to make this a little bit of a shorter chat tonight. At least that's my goal. It's been such a long day. I'm really exhausted, if I'm really honest. It's been one of those really emotional days where I'm not just talking to you guys about a topic that's essential to you, but rather it's a day where I've also had to carry the same message I'm going to give you tonight all day long from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. EST. So I'm a little bit exhausted, but we're going to jump in. I think you guys are going to get a lot out of this live chat tonight. And I'm hoping that, if I can kind of, gather up some energy for the weekend, I can give you guys a YouTube video that's going to be a little longer, maybe about 15, 20 minutes, that really breaks down the concepts and the thoughts that I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. So I see some other people signing on. Hello, Sean Hammer. Welcome to the chat. Love back to you. I also see Chatty Chicky. Hi, welcome to the chat. So glad to see you as well. Black girls getting their shift together. Hello from Atlanta. Welcome to the chat. Rena, John, lovely. Thanks for coming. Glad to see you. So let me jump into what this is. Okay, so we had last week when I did a live chat, I had somebody, I think it was Tanya. I'm probably messing that up again. Tanya Turner. And she asked me a question that was essential. So let me see if I can pull this up. I promised her that I would bring this up, and I love to stay true to my word. So let me pull this up. She sent me a message behind the scenes, and then she also commented on my channel. Here she is. She says, "Hi, Tam, can you do a chat on how our childhood and family situation?" I'm going to start over. Hi, Tam. Can you do a chat on how we manage our friendships given the severity of our childhoods and family situations? Most don't understand us or the depression, no contact, or just how we manage. So this was a fantastic question from Tanya. She basically is asking that I really zone in on, how do you manage life outside of your toxic, unhealthy, and dysfunctional family, right? What is it that you need to kind of explain your particular situation? And let me tell you, you're the seventh person today on my schedule that has asked me, how do we navigate this? So I'm going to give you some ideas. I also want to kind of give you a little bit of an overview of some of the concepts as well that happens when you're estranged from your family or you're really thinking of walking away. Now, after the live chat tonight, I'm going to post in the description box below my video on family estrangement, because in that video I do a deep dive into what is family estrangement and what happens and how do you navigate that and how do you deal with the people who may be your friend or your boss or your coworker, and they're asking you, how are you not talking to your mom, or how are you not talking to your dad, right? So I will post that video in the description box. So I see Keisha. Hello, Keisha. Welcome to the chat. So glad to see you. Ronald Zion, welcome. Sparkle, welcome to the chat. Tanya, hopefully I'm getting it right this chat. You just missed me talking about you. You can see that in the replay. Oh boy, Rena John says voice is breaking up. So let me know, guys, if we're having technical issues again. Okay. I hope not. I think Vanessa said that I can hear also. Oh, Deborah said she can't hear. I can hear her, Caitlin says. Okay, all right. I'm so It's clear now. It cleared up. Okay. All right. Okay. Awesome. Okay. I'm watching in case we need to do a restart. I'm watching. You guys are on it. Yes, absolutely, Tam. Okay, all right. So let's jump in. Okay, guys. Let me start off by discussing estrangement just briefly. Okay. So the field of psychology has come up with a term to kind of help us understand what is the process by which we make a choice to separate from family members who are unhealthy, dysfunctional, toxic, and just abusive. What is that particular? Awesome? Good, Rena. Very glad it's clear. What is that term that we can say, that we can use, that we can relate to, that can help other people, including ourselves? Because sometimes we need to hear the truth of what we've done or what we've decided, right? So what is that term that we can use to express what it is that we have chosen to do, or to express what has happened in a family that isn't talking, that isn't communicating, that isn't getting along, that isn't meshing or attaching to each other anymore? That is known as family estrangement. It's a separation by choice, and there's different levels of estrangement. And so in my previous video, which I'll post after the chat tonight, I explain exactly what that is, family estrangement. Awesome. Very good, Sine. Glad you can hear. Thank you for letting me know. The other term I want you to kind of keep in mind and kind of think about as we go through this chat tonight is a term known as enmeshment. Now, enmeshment is something I talk a lot about on this channel, but here it is in a nutshell. Here's an explanation in a nutshell. Enmeshment is basically this: that I am so overly involved and so tightly wound with somebody else in the family, or wound up, if you will, that I don't really know if the emotions and my thoughts and my behaviors are my own, or are they the person that I'm overly involved with, right? So it's a form of codependency within a family. And sometimes navigating walking away from a family, or trying to navigate family estrangement, or saying goodbye to your family and never looking back, sometimes you may experience some kind of anxiety that kind of keeps you holding on, or hoping and wishing and praying and whatever else you need to do, that things will work out. So that little bit of trepidation that you have, or that little bit of anxiety and uncertainty that you may have before you walk away from your family, or after you walk away from your family, can be known as family estrangement. I'm sorry, family enmeshment. Excuse me, I got distracted. Enmeshment, again, is a form of codependency, but it's not quite codependency. It's a form of it, but it isn't. Okay, so keep that in mind. Another term I want you to kind of hold on to throughout this conversation is family dynamics. Now, the term family dynamic is this. Here's what it means. It's basically patterns of interactions among family members. Okay, how you talk to each other, how you relate to each other, how you give each other eye contact, right? The inside jokes that you have, some of the family secrets, the intergenerational trauma, all of that stuff is known as family dynamics. And those family dynamics can really make or break you. If you have a really unhealthy family dynamic of victimizing people, and really keeping things hidden in the family, and not really being open and engaged, and not really sharing your true thoughts, your true feelings, and talking and working through things, then that's a very unhealthy family dynamic. Again, family dynamic is patterns of behavior within a family over time. And tonight's chat about how do I navigate my life without my family, or with limited contact, has a lot to do with family dynamics. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Okay. Let me just check really quickly the chat box, because I don't want to get behind like I always do. Cherry's Jubilee says, I've recently had some memories come back. How can I be sure it's not a false memory? And does it really matter if it is what I remember? Well, that is an excellent question, Cherry's Jubilee. And I should have brought my dictionary for psychologists, because that's a hard one. Let me just say, false memories really do have some kind of significance to them. A false memory, for those of you who may not be aware of it, is something that you remember from your childhood, or maybe from, so many years in your past, so many years ago that, it bothers you. Excuse me. It starts to really impact how you see yourself and how you see life and who you're communicating with. You may also have what we call central nervous system dominance or fight or flight responses. You may find that your heart rate goes up, you start sweating, you start shaking, you may have nightmares, and you may also have flashbacks, even though it's a false memory. It's kind of like your brain gets confused and it starts making up this life story. And then your body, the physiology of who you are as a human being, begins reacting to that fight or flight system that's just been kicked off by that false memory. So back to your question, Cherry Jubilee, that's a hard one. I don't think it's really easy to decipher what's a false memory and what's a memory that I'm remembering for the first time. You really need to be in therapy, delving in and really trying to, find out by having a therapist that's experienced in trauma therapy, is this a false memory? And if it is, why did this come up in my life? What significance does this false memory have for me? You know what I mean? So I'm going to just kind of bow to this gracefully because I don't have the answer, Cherries Jubilee, but that was a fantastic question. I'm going to say, if it's something that you are physiologically responding to, and I'll leave it at this, if there's something if you're having a false memory that you're physiologically responding to, then I highly suggest, number one, enacting some of those coping skills. Number two, journaling how often those false memories come up, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, right? Does it come up once a month, twice a month? Kind of keep track of that. And then you can also use what are called scaling questions. Okay. So you can maybe put in a journal that may be titled My Memories. You can put in that journal on a scale from 1 to 10. How bad is this memory, right? A 5 is moderate. A 1 is I'm pretty good. Nothing's really bothering me. A 10 is I'm having nightmares every single night. So that might be a good way to kind of work with these memories that could or could not be false. Okay. That was a fantastic question. Fantastic question. Wonderful. Cherry Jubilee says, yeah, I see my therapist Thursday. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, good, good, good. I would bring that up and see what he or she says. I'm sure they have an answer. Okay, so Blessed in every area of my life says, I hate that I was born into my toxic family. Yeah, absolutely. And let me just say, you're not the only one. There's so many people that, are really, kind of resentful at the fact that we can't choose our family. And, I had someone say to me the other day, and it was uh, a family member of a client that I was seeing. And a lot of times my clients teach me, or they remind me of things that I just forget. And so this family member said something that was pretty interesting. She says, you can't choose your family, but then again, yes, you can, because as you grow and you learn that your family is toxic, that they're dysfunctional, they're unhealthy, you kind of look for other people to fill those voids and those empty places, So that nice neighbor over there may not be your biological mom, but she plays that role in your life. That's your family. That man at the grocery store talks to you and stops and talks to you every time he sees you, and he wishes you well and asks you how you've been doing. That's your father, right? So you've chosen him, right? So she gave me a really interesting way to kind of look at that. No, you can't choose your family, but once you realize who they really are and you have to walk away, then you can choose people on the outside that are pretty much like family. So that might be a good way to think of that. Oh boy, blessed in every area of my life says I'm starting not to like people. Yeah, I mean, nothing is really wrong with that. I think, and before I jump back into the content, I think it's important to keep in mind that when you have experienced so much at the hands of people that you thought you could love and trust, and you thought they had your best interest at heart, when you realize that, okay, maybe that's not quite what I thought, maybe I was wrong, maybe my family's more abusive and unhealthy and dysfunctional than I thought. Once you begin to accept that reality, you do start to push other people away, right? You do kind of, kind of loosen yourself from their grip, and you may, in a way to protect yourself, say, you know what, I don't want to be a part of anybody. I want to move way out in the middle of nowhere. I don't want to deal with traffic anymore. I don't want to deal with coworkers. It's not that I hate people, it's that I don't trust you, and I've been hurt, and so therefore I put a distance between me and you. Nothing is wrong with that, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because I had a client client say that to me today. She's like, I feel so bad. I hate people. And so we worked with that. We teased some things apart. We delved in, and I think she realized she doesn't hate people or dislike people. It's just she's been hurt and she doesn't trust them. So just want to normalize that. I'm glad you brought that up. Emma, hi, welcome to the chat. Emma Louie says, imagine people with good families move forward with positive emotions. People from bad families spend years trying to sort out the mess. Yeah, absolutely. And this is not to kind of throw dirt on the lives of people who have wonderful families, but they have issues as well. And their issues may either be minimized because they don't want to see it, right? Somebody could be in denial of what the issues are in that so-called positive family, or they have a positive family, but it's like a small amount of family members, maybe the brothers and the few cousins, maybe the aunt and the uncle, but that's about it. So kind of keep that in mind, Emma, as you move forward, that even the positive families have issues too. But you're right. It's like people with bad families get the bad end of everything because you have to pick up your broken life, and you may never get to the place that you want to be, unfortunately. Okay, so let's get back into the content, guys, for those of you who are here on for tips on how to navigate family stuff. So let me highlight that research into family therapy has highlighted a few things that are often lacking, and it kind of tilts the family boat into the waters. Okay, I've heard an analogy in the field before with family therapy. The family is basically like a bunch of individuals in a boat, and you're all trying to row the same way, but unfortunately sometimes the person behind you doesn't row as much, or they're not as strong, or they give up, or they're discouraging, or they're negative, and it kind of interferes with your rowing of that boat in the right direction. Well, family is kind of like that too. And so there's some research that suggests that a lack of something known as individuation, we're going to start with individuation. A lack of individuation causes the family boat to tip over. It causes the chaos. It causes the dysfunction. Now, you may be asking yourself, what in the world is individuation? Well, individuation is a normal developmental process that we all go through, and it tends to hit at the age of like 16, sometimes earlier, but 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, when you are actually detaching from the secure bind, or the secure position of your family. So you're kind of separating from your family so that you can develop your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own experiences. You can create your own adult life. You know what I mean? And you can kind of embrace those things that you as an individual want to embrace. So when individuation doesn't happen, and there's this emotional control and psychological control within a family system, it tilts the family boat, into the ocean, into the water, and the whole family system sometimes begins to sink. Because if you try to minimize somebody's individuality, or you try to act like it's not important, you're going to suffocate them, and they're going to find some way out of that. Rebellion, oppositional defiance, poor conduct, the list goes on. So a lack of individuation is usually what's going on under the surface in dysfunctional and toxic families. The next thing that research highlights is a barrier to healthy development within a family is something known as mutuality. Now, mutuality, if I can say it correctly, is the idea that everything in a family is equal, right? Cousin Susu doesn't get what Uncle Bill gets, or doesn't get, right? They both get the same thing. Aunt Sue gets what she's supposed to get, and so does Uncle Bill. No one is left out. In a family where there's no mutuality, there's usually toxicity, because there's no respect of everybody's feelings. It's that person over there is the favorite, and they're going to get and you're not, right? The next thing that you want to think about, and research highlights, is flexibility and stability. Flexibility and stability. Without that flexibility within a family, you guys are going to butt heads, you and your family members. Now, flexibility is basically allowing individuation, embracing who you say you are, right? Being happy for you and really trying to support you. Stability is the same thing, right? Giving you that firm foundation that you can launch from as a family member. Without those two things, family trauma and family dysfunction is likely family. Now, here's a word you guys may have never heard of before, and it's called, it basically describes an inability to share mutually, and that's role reciprocity. And I'm going to put these things in the description box so you can go back and look at it and then Google it and learn a little bit more about it. But role reciprocity basically means this: you do for me, I do for you. You do for me, and I do for you. And without that role reciprocity, you're likely going to feel trapped and imprisoned, because you need to know that if I give my all to support and love you, you're going to do the same for me. You're not going to slight me. So, not having that role reciprocity is what usually it causes the family dysfunction and the toxicity and the trauma that you most likely have seen within your family. Healthy self-esteem, excuse me, is also something that tips the boat over, right? You can't row a boat in the same direction if you have a family that targets your self-esteem and shoots you down and makes you feel worthless, right? These are all the things that causes family estrangement. When you don't have individuation, you don't have mutuality, you don't have role reciprocity, you don't have flexibility and stability, and you don't have a support system for your healthy self-esteem, then family estrangement is likely to happen, and you're going to walk away or desire to walk away, shut those family members out, and create your own safe world over here, right? So then what do you do once you decide, I'm going to walk away or I'm going to stay away? What do you do to help yourself accept that that's the position that you're in? What do you do to help yourself accept that and heal from it and really become a more mature adult? I'm going to tell you in a little bit. Let me get to the chat box. Okay, guys, I'm going to make sure that I'm not missing anything that you're saying. Okay, so Caitlin Brown says, I've been staying to myself a lot more lately, probably is a protective mechanism from childhood still, but it does help calm me to recharge social battery when alone. Yeah, absolutely. I'm like a complete introvert. Okay, recharging my batteries is a salad, books, and a movie. Boom. That's my recharge. So if you have to recharge, Caitlin, then that's the way you have to do it. It could be, a protective mechanism, but it depends on what it is. I think it's a healthy mechanism. I think it's a very healthy protective mechanism to know, when you need to be done with whatever, may be causing you to be defensive, right? So you kind of go into this cocoon and you hide yourself and you protect yourself that way. And that's okay. As long as it's not a protective mechanism of drinking and drugs and isolating and things like that. Otherwise, I think it's healthy. I really do. Yeah, Cherry's Jubilee says, blessed. We have a Discord group. Caitlin says, I feel blessed. And I think they're talking, for those of you who aren't keeping up along with me, I think they're just talking about the unity of the group. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cherry's Jubilee and Caitlin. Emma says, wealthy people see therapists for years. I refuse to bother getting a therapist at this stage in my life. I tried it before, and it is just another service and business. I mean, let me give you a positive and a negative to that. I think that almost like alphabet soup. Okay, here's my really corny analogy. Okay, so consider that you have a bowl of soup. Okay, there's tons of alphabet noodles in there and some peas and some carrots, right? And you may, as you're kind of looking at this bowl of soup, you may realize that some of the alphabets in that bowl of soup are broken. They're not whole. And there's also some alphabets missing from this bowl. And, while it may not tarnish the whole bowl of soup, you can still eat that bowl of soup with some of those broken up alphabets and so forth. It's kind of discouraging. But if you continue, you may find that, hey, this soup was good despite despite the broken alphabets. Okay. So here's what I'm saying outside of the corny analogy, that I see my field as a broken field. It is sorely broken. And there are some professionals who are new and fresh, and they need lots of experience, and they can create damage if there's not enough supervision, or if they've been favored in some way and pushed through the system. There are also people in my field who are burned out, they're tired, they're overwhelmed, and they've just, completely given up on the field, or they don't know what they're doing anymore and they need to retire, they need to walk out of the field completely. Like, there's so much brokenness, Emma, in my field, that I don't disagree with you. Like, I understand your resistance to wanting to get a therapist. Because you're not going to always find a good therapist. It could take many years, right, before you find a really good therapist. So I totally respect that. However, I do want to give you some hope that maybe if you ever felt you needed to try it again, you might find somebody who's really good. I'm actually glad that you're in a channel then, because if you're not getting therapy, hopefully hopefully you're getting therapy from this channel. Hopefully. We'll see. I hope. Okay. Mariah Love says, my mom is the leader of the pack. She's turned the whole family against me. Yeah, that's really difficult. Now, what it sounds like is your mom is kind of playing the alpha role in the family. And although there may be a dad or a male who plays the strong role, moms kind of can take that alpha role as well, Mariah Love, because they do everything, right? They do the scheduling and the planning and the emotional work and the raising and all of that. And so, that kind of builds for them some kind of equity. Okay, so what I mean by equity is it kind of builds up some power. They have some authority in the family because of everything that they may have done. And so you as a sibling have absolutely no equity. You have absolutely no power and authority. And so if mom sees you a certain way, then you must be the problem. You know what I mean? And so, that's the sad part about unhealthy family dynamics, that pattern of behavior within a family over time. And sadly, it takes a lot of years for the most part, at least what I've seen in my profession, it takes a lot of years before the siblings can say, you're right, it is mom. So that's a really lonely place to be in. I'm sorry you're there. Yeah, family does equal tribe, Sean Hammer. Thank you for that. Ronald Zion says, once you discover your worth being discounted, okay, let me do this again. So once you discover your worth, being discounted is no longer an option. Absolutely, 100% Ronald Zion. I should shut the whole chat down just because of that. That was great. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Cherished Jubilee, for saying such positive things, as well as blessed in every area of my life. And Fairy Girl, I see the positivity. Thank you for that. Designer Guy says, hi, doctor. Are you offering any consultations in December? Hello, Designer Guy. I'm actually booked up now until the end of January, but please send me an email. I will put you on my list because I now have a list that's going into April. So let me know. I will put you on the list. Just send me an email. I promise I will respond. I try to get to each and every one of you. Yes, you're welcome. Blessed in every area of my life. You're welcome. Ronald Zion says, I'm learning family has nothing to do with blood, but rather loyalty and respect. Yes, absolutely. I agree. Sean Hammer says, broken homes are not homes. Agree. Agree. Fairy Girl says, hurt and betrayed the most by those that claim to love you and keep you safe. Yes, absolutely, Fairy Girl. And I think that's one of the reasons why, walking away from your family is the hardest thing to do, right? Family estrangement is a hard thing to wrap your mind around because you do expect them to be loving. You do expect your family to be healthy and caring and protected. And when they don't, it's kind of like you have to make the hardest decision of your life. Am I going to stay here and be abused, or am I going to run and find safety in my life somewhere else so that I can have my mind, so that I can have a healthy heart, and so I can have some ounce of life left for myself in a healthy way? It's the hardest decision that I've seen a lot of people make. I've seen my mom make it to a certain extent, and it's really difficult. So what do you do, right? So you want to learn how to navigate this life without your family, how to, how to kind of work your way around some of the guilt and some of the sadness and maybe some of the desire to have that person be a different person. Well, the number one thing that I encourage a lot of my clients to do when they are struggling with this is to kind of, explain your role to other people. Now, Tanya, if you're still with me, Tanya, the question that you asked me last chat was, how do you kind of navigate outside relationships without them kind of gaslighting you and minimizing you and saying, oh, families have issues? I think, and this is my number one tip, is if you feel that it is necessary, explain your family role. Kind of utilize that opportunity that you may have in trying to explain your situation to somebody else. Use that opportunity to educate them. We have a whole world full of people that do not understand that there are dysfunctional, unhealthy, traumatizing family dynamics in families. And so, you're almost in a position of power and authority in the sense that you've experienced it firsthand. You know the language, you know the lingo, you know how you have felt and thought about this. Use the opportunity to, say to that friend or coworker or boss or other family member, here's the role that I played in my family and I couldn't play it any longer. I was the scapegoat. I couldn't deal with it. It depressed me. It made me anxious. I felt unloved and I had to get away. Turn it into a positive thing as well, if you can, and say, I took initiative. And I believe that I'm strong for taking initiative. I didn't stay in a situation where I was going to continue to be mishandled, abused, neglected, uncared for, talked down to, the list goes on, right? So explain your role. The other thing too that I suggest my clients do, and this may be helpful to you, is again, take that educational role. Start kind of using the language with the person that you're trying to help understand your situation and give them some educational resources. Go online and find some reputable places like verywellmind.com, psychcentral.com, the National Institute of Health. There's a couple of others too, guys. I just can't remember them off the top of my head. But go to those websites and type in family estrangement, type in narcissistic families, and click on a link, send it to the family member who's questioning you, or, pull it up on your phone and show it to the person that you're trying to talk to, a coworker, a family member, a friend, whatever. Take that educational stance with them because they need to know what you know. So in a way, and I don't want it to make it sound like I'm encouraging you to talk down to them, but in a way, you're kind of saying, here, let me teach you something that you don't understand. Okay. If they refuse to embrace that, drop it, let it go. They're not even worthy of you trying to explain yourself because they're not trying to understand you. So that's one way to look at that. You also want to normalize the topic with the person that you're trying to kind of connect with, right? And navigating this whole world of family estrangement and aloneness requires you to normalize this whole experience for yourself. Being in this chat box, chatting with everybody, talking to me about it, emailing other, YouTubers who are, professionals and they understand this, taking notes during these kind of live chats and videos. You are normalizing your experience of a broken family. You're also normalizing your experience in your own mind. And so that makes it a little bit easier for you to move forward. It's only when you feel that your position is abnormal that you begin to sink and struggle and suffer with negative thoughts, maybe even some self-blame. So you want to step into that position of, you know what, this is my normal. This is my normal. And I'm going to have to figure out, how do I be okay with this being my new normal? Right. And so I told a family that today, make this situation your new normal. It's yours. You can't pass it off to somebody else. This is your situation. This is your family estrangement. This is the pain that's involved. Grieve that pain, grapple with those emotions, but then normalize it and accept that this is my normal and I have to make the best of that. So that's my suggestion with that. The other thing too is, you kind of want to ready yourself for self blame, number one, but number two, the judgment of other people. Because once you walk away and you become estranged in your family, you're going to get a lot of people judging you if you haven't already experienced it. And you kind of want to ready yourself, you know? So here's a few ways that you can kind of ready yourself. And these are just off the top of my head. You can, number one, learn to accept what your position is in the family. What kind of a role am I playing in this dysfunctional family? Am I the scapegoat? Am I the hero? Am I the lost child? Am I the black sheep? What am I in this family situation, right? And kind of process how your role has excuse me, impacted your life, your mind, your heart, right? Once you accept what role you're in, okay, then you want to be able to normalize that role and and help yourself kind of be okay with, this is who I am. This is how they've tagged me. This is what they've done to me. I'm going to do my best to make life better for me in some capacity. I accept that this is what you think I am within this family system. And then that in and of itself, that process in and of itself can kind of ready you for that judgment and even for your own self blame that may slip in there every now and then. And also, too, guys, you want to get to know negative self talk. What is that negative voice that plays over and over and over in my mind that tells me that I'm the problem? I made the wrong decision, that maybe I jumped the gun, right? What is that negative voice serving? What purpose is it serving in my life? And how can I minimize that? You know, I also think too, and I'm gonna add this on top of everything else, that you want to leave self blame and doubt. Leave it at the front door. Like you don't need it. You don't need to bring it with you. You're trying to escape an abusive and traumatizing, dysfunctional, unhealthy situation as it is. You don't want self blame and doubt to follow you because you might as well have stayed with your abusive family. And I just told that to a client the other day. I'm like, to her in conversation before she left, I'm like, if you're going to walk away from unhealthy, toxic family members, don't punish yourself even further with blame and self-doubt and uncertainty. Find that comfort zone where you are comfortable and healthy and live in that until you find a better way. But don't bring all those negative things with you because it's a prison. All right, let me go to the chat box, guys, because I don't want to get behind on comments. Jada133 says, yeah, but other people won't treat you like real family. They can do worse than family. So I guess we just on our own. I'm not sure. I don't trust anyway. Okay, so I guess we just, I think Jada meant, so I guess we're on our own. I'm not sure. I don't trust anyway. Yeah, I totally get you. So you're saying that, other people may treat you bad too, right along with your family. And so how are they any better than your family? True, but you want to be able to see it this way, Jada 133. You want to see it as my unhealthy family is like a 10 on a scale from 1 to 10, right? 10 being the worst. That's my family. If I can find friends and people who love and care about me, that's about a 5 and under. That's great, right? Not everybody is going to abuse you. And so, you want to keep that in the back of your mind as a little seed of hope that you may find friends and coworkers and people who just love you, you know? Okay, so I hope that's helpful, but I totally get where you're coming from. I do. Hello, Liberty Can. Thank you so much. Hope you are well as well. Thank you so much for that. Welcome to the chat. Uh, Cherry Jubilee says blood is thicker than water, but the blood of the coven is thicker than the water of the womb. Oh, that's an interesting one. Did you make that up, Cherry Jubilee, or did you find that somewhere? That is interesting. I'll leave that to you guys to psychoanalyze, but I like it. Fairy Girl says, I was born to manipulate the family system. Oh my God. Oh God, Fairy Girl. My poor granny put up with a lot. Her ex-husband was terrible. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Emma says mutuality equals narcissism. Got it. I mean, that's a good way to look at that, I guess. Yeah. In other terms, neglect opposite of mutuality. Right, yeah, absolutely. Neglect is the opposite of mutuality. I hope I'm understanding that correctly. Let's just say I've been up since 6 a.m. So if I'm not understanding, Emma, please forgive me. Please forgive me. Sean Hammer says, having been cut off in the lockdown, I finally felt some release from keeping up with the family myth. Now I'm being guilted and shamed for not caring because I haven't been in touch. Well, Sean, I'm sorry to hear that. I've been there. My mom's been there. Like 90% of the clients in my practice have been there. And I think when a family kind of crowds you in and tries to guilt trip you because you're not really reaching out as much as maybe, you would if they were a little bit more normal or healthy, or you're not reaching out because you're happier without reaching out to them. When they try to do that to you, they don't realize that they're making it so much more easy for you to just stay away. You know, and if they knew that, and if they knew that and they were aware of their tactics and their behavior, I'm sure they wouldn't do it. So in some way, Sean Hammer, it could be strictly ignorance that has them doing this to you, but I encourage you to do what's healthy for you. If staying away equals peace of mind, stay away. You don't owe them anything. Blessed in every area of my life says, I have made horrible decisions because family trauma. And it's like my mom knew what she was setting me up for because my dad didn't want her. He died before I could meet him. She lied about him. My goodness. So that's like a seed of trauma, probably, that's like on the inside, right? Blessed in every area of my life. And so you kind of have to work through that if you haven't already. That's a tough one. Tanya says, role reciprocity. Yes, I always say my family relationships are transactional, but the transaction only goes one. Yeah, only goes one way. Is that what you mean, Tanya? Yeah, role reciprocity is a huge issue in dysfunctional families. There's no mutuality. There's no you do for me, I do for you kind of thing. And that in and of itself can be traumatizing because you're banking on the fact that you're family. And so you're going to be there for me. But when that family member doesn't show up or they don't measure up, that's really hurtful, really hurtful. And I know you know what I mean by that one. Empowered woman, welcome to the chat. So glad to see you. Says, my sisters lied and manipulated my children as an attempt to alienate them from me. That is horrible. It sounds like triangulation. That's what it sounds like. Somebody's the victim, somebody's the persecutor pointing the fingers, and there's a rescuer somewhere, which is probably your sisters. They're probably the ones that are acting like the saviors in the whole thing. I'm sorry to hear that. That's horrible. That's horrible. All right, guys, I'm going to skim a little bit more. I'm going to finish up on the content, and then we're going to wrap up because I'm over time, as I always am. Sine says, yes, I need that trust. Agree. Mariah says, no contact is hard. She always calls and leaves crazy voicemails. Yeah, I'm sure. Keep in mind that if a manipulator is calling you, leaving crazy voicemails, as you put it, Mariah Love, and it's really bizarre and strange, I wouldn't even respond to the voicemails. I would save them and keep them, but I wouldn't even respond to them because you're under no obligation to respond. Absolutely no obligation. Would it be wonderful if you were a happy family and you could respond? Yes. But if there's no healthy dynamic, then you don't even need to respond, and don't feel bad for that. It's healthier to keep up that wall of defense than it is to go with the flow and answer that call and then have to deal with all that chaos. It's horrible. Excuse me, guys. Somewhere I'm going to figure out that I need to bring water with me during these chats. I'm going to figure it out at some point. Deborah Pena says, I was raised with adopted parents that loved me on the outside, but not within. Oh, boy. I'm so sorry to hear that. And this kind of hits home for me because I have within my practice, I see a variety of individuals around family and childhood and teens and trauma and depression and anxiety. But over the past 3 months, Most of my appointment slots have been of excuse me, adults, adolescents, and children who have been adopted and abused. And so I'm kind of throwing around in the back of my mind this whole concept of doing a live chat on being fostered and adopted and having different parents. So just know, Deborah, that I'm kind of thinking that through to see if that would be a good topic to bring to a live chat or at least to a video. So stay tuned for that one. Very sorry that you had to deal with that. You were betrayed by your family and then given to another family who also betrayed you, and so that's like layers of trauma, right? Layers of trauma over time. Cherry's Jubilee says, Tam fam, you changed my life. That's so wonderful. And let me just give props to you, Cherry's Jubilee. You're always like the moderator of the chat. You're always supportive. Fairy Girl, you are as well. Ronald Zion, blessed in every area of my life. Like, Caitlin, like all of you are fantastic. And as you can see, I could quote your screen names without looking at the screen. Let me just highlight that. That means I really do recognize and acknowledge you. And so thank you for that. But Cherry's Jubilee, I can see why you totally love the chat. I do too. I love it. It's wonderful. It is wonderful. All right, let me go ahead and close us out here with just a few more things that I want to kind of suggest for you to digest as you walk away from and you kind of escape your family a little bit. And even you may be at the point of trying to figure out if you want to walk away from your family. Okay, so let me throw that in there. But I think we left off at kind of leaving self doubt and uncertainty over there because there's no sense in taking it along with you if you're trying to get free from people who burden you as it is. So I kind of want you to my next tip. I want you to kind of process what it is that you need to accept and you're having a hard time accepting because sometimes if you're trying to have friendships or you're dating or you're trying to talk to your colleagues about your situation, you may find it really difficult to explain yourself. So get a piece of paper, do a line down the middle of your page, put accept and unaccept or accept and not accepted, whatever, however you want to label this. Okay. Write down all the things that you have accepted about your situation, and then write down all the things that you are having a difficult time accepting. And then little by little, as the days go on, work through it, right? Work through those things that you're having a hard time accepting. It's only when you accept that family estrangement has occurred, that I'm going to have to walk away or run away from my family. It's only when you accept that reality that you heal. It's when you're still holding on, you're still uncertain, you're still blaming yourself. That's the issue. You want to be able to really grab hold of the truth of what's going on in your life, what's going on in your heart and your mind, accepting that, working through it, and then moving forward, hopefully in a healthier way in your life. I also think too, you want to get to a place where you accept what has happened to you. A lot of people in today's society really do believe that if you're not connected to your family, then you're the problem. And it's, again, acceptance is a huge thing. It's only when you accept that they are ignorant, they are unlearned, they don't understand, that you can actually walk away with peace of mind and heal. You're also not going to be as defensive when you're trying to explain why you're not connected to your family. Accepting that this is my storyline is the key. I would also say, lastly, too, you want to embrace what's known as post traumatic growth. And I'm going to post a video in the description box that I did 3 years ago about post traumatic growth. I'm going to try to do a renewed, more modernized video on post traumatic growth, but learn how to find that and engage in it. Now, post traumatic growth is basically the idea that you have this trauma over here, but you also have a healthy life over here, or at least you're trying to create that healthy life over here. How can I bridge the gap between those two worlds, right? That unhealthy family dynamic I just came out of, or I want to run away from. How do I create health over here and then accept that this is what I came from? Once you go through that whole process, then you start to develop post-traumatic growth, which is a healthier, more balanced way of looking at relationships, looking at your trauma, looking at your life, and looking at your personal experiences. And then And I'll do an updated video on post traumatic growth, and I'll explain to you how this goes. But then once you do all of that, then you can look at your library of life and say, you know what, I'm going to remove that book, and I'm going to put a book up there that's a little bit more positive. I'm going to remove that book next, and I'm going to put a dictionary there, but that's going to be the best part of my story, right? So then you learn how to kind of rearrange your world and the way that you see yourself and you see your world. So that is post traumatic growth. I'm taking the trauma I've been through, and I'm accepting it, and I'm bringing it together with the healthy pieces of who I am, and I'm accepting what has happened, and now I'm rearranging. That's the best way to think of post traumatic growth. All right, guys, let me go ahead and wrap up in the comment section, and then I will see you guys next Wednesday, hopefully. Oh boy. Cheers Jubilee says, I sent a link and YouTube blocked me, or they blocked me. Oh yeah. They're really tough with links. I'm so sorry. Send it to my email, Cheers Jubilee. I'll try to post it. Lady T is my name. Hello, welcome to the chat. So glad to see you. Thank you for the hearts. Tanya says, great advice. I love the idea of normalization. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Black Girls Getting Their Ship Together says, I hold boundaries with my family. 100% the thing to do. Good for you. I had to learn to do it as well. And that's with extended family. Ronald Diane says, if more people were really honest and brave, they too would embrace the normalization of dysfunctional family. But the fear of labels for many is real. Yes, the fear of labels and the fear of being judged, right? Why would I tell you that I'm estranged from my family so that you can look at me and think I'm the problem, Ronald? So you're right about that. But then also just the fear of being prejudged. Ooh, I hit the wrong button. Sine says, I really appreciate the experiences of others in the chat and the knowledge and compassion you have, Dr. Hale. It truly aids in my understanding and growth. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for that wonderful, wonderful compliment, for those sweet words. Thank you. I love what you guys give me feed. I hope I'm not trying to get sick. I'm so sorry. I love when you guys give me feedback, because then that shows me what I need to give you next. That's going to take you from this level to that level. Designer guy, you just sent me an email. Yes, I will get you in. I saw it. It just popped up. It just popped up. I promise I'm going to respond. Okay, so Luna, I think that's an L. Welcome to the chat. I'm getting ready to sign off, but welcome to the chat. Says, I definitely was the scapegoat and then the disruptor because I said things no one wanted to say out loud. Done trying to help people that don't want help and use me and belittle me. I'm no contact now. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. I think that's wise. I think you're taking a very humble position and you're saying, you know what, I can help you. I bow out. Good luck. And sometimes that's kind of how you have to do it. It's not cold. It really is pretty much a strength to be able to bow out when you know you can't do anything to change it. Crystal T, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you as well. Says, I wrote my dad a letter apologizing for my closed off behavior, but he never replied. We live together, but don't talk at all. It's hard. Yeah, I can only imagine. My God. I think it's worse when you're separated or estranged in the same place that you live. I have one client that's doing that. And let me tell you, I'm learning a ton. I'm still learning as a therapist, and I'm learning a ton. All right, guys. I wish I could stay on here with you, but I'm like over the time by 30 minutes. I don't know how to do that. Thank you for the love, Cherry Jubilee. I see you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the love, Tanya. Thank you for the love, blessed in every area of my life. Fairy Girl, Emma, Ronald Zion. Thank you so much. Sean Hammer. Love you. Love you. Peggy says, thank you for your help. This is tough. Yes, it is. It is really tough, but hang in there. I'm hopeful that through this chat, through the community that we've created, and through some of the things that I do talk about, I'm hopeful that you will budge some, right? You'll move from pain to maybe feeling a little bit better because you see that there's unity here, right? And everybody in the chat box makes it so wonderful on the platform. I have nothing to do with that. They make it just so wonderful that you feel welcome. So I hope that's healing in and of itself. Corey, welcome to the chat. Corey Dixon, I've never seen you before, so welcome to the chat. Says, no contact with family since June 29th, 2022. My life is so much better. Thanks for everything. You're welcome. And I'm really glad to hear that. You might find yourself see family members pop up all over, right? near Thanksgiving, near Christmas, near New Year. So be ready for that. And I'm coming back with a live chat on that. So stay tuned. Martha says, thank you for your videos. You're welcome. And welcome to the chat. So glad to see you. All right, guys, I love you so much. Thank you for all your love and how you make this live chat so wonderful every single time I do them. So thank you so much for that. I will see you in the next live next Wednesday. Bye, guys. Have a good night. And email me if you need me. Good night.